obviously we have to engage the mind, the human mind, to come up with a judgment. The Course is all about teaching us to look through our spiritual eyes. Love. Agape love. Anything other than seeing this moment through unconditionally loving eyes, i.e. non-judgment, the Course would say is fear. So that being said, if you look at something through a judgmental mind, you could look at the positive in this world. If that positive is viewed from a judgmental mind, the Course would throw that into the category of fear. Sounds kind of contradictory sometimes. How can good and positive be coming from fear?
Can you give an example of that?
Only if it's a judgment, though.
Only if it's a judgment. Now, this is no different than what we talked about when I talked about the Bhagavad Gita.
Can you give an example of that? You're talking about looking at something good with judgment.
Well, in other words,
if you decide it's good or bad,
if you decide
it's good or positive, that's still judgment.
It's still based upon a dualistic view.
Right.
Okay.
Which means you're figuring the dualistic, figuring there's an opposite of that.
Exactly.
And
okay.
So therefore.
And opposites is the key here. Okay. Opposites is the key. We're going to get into talking about what this is about. Tonight we're going to talk about the introduction, then we're going to get into clarification of terms, is what we just discussed. And at the very, very beginning of the book, we're going to talk about the very, very beginning, the introduction. And it says this. This is, I guess, page 1. Page 1. Introduction on page 1. Right after the table of contents. Okay? It says, this is a Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time that you take it is voluntary. Okay? So we all have a choice as to when you're going to experience this. That's what it's saying. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. Okay, what does that mean? It means we have free will. We have free will to make a choice. Once I made the choice, the details in the form outside, the details of my life, are not necessarily in my charge. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So in other words, we say, okay, I'm choosing to live my life for God. Why are these things still occurring in my life this way? How come things are happening this way when I'm choosing to live my life for God? Okay. So the Course is saying you can establish, the free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at any given time. In other words, we're going to have experiences, we're going to have lessons, so to speak. We're going to have that which is going to build the foundation to move us to the state of the atonement. Okay? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that would be beyond what can be taught. Okay, so again, it's not going to teach you the meaning of love. How could it teach you the meaning of love? It can't. Love can't be taught. Love can be experienced. Agape love. Okay? Agape love cannot be defined, but it can be experienced. This is what this is all about. This is about an experiential thing. This is not about an intellectual thing.
Because love is God, God is love. It's like trying to understand all of God.
Yes, exactly. It can't be done. You can't intellectualize it. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. Okay, so what is it basically saying it's going to do? It's going to help you look at everything that is standing in your way of being. Everything that you have embraced in your mind and adopted as being true and real and valid which is erroneous, it's going to help you remove that. That's what the Course is about. The opposite of love is fear. Okay, so here we have love. This is God. This is total awareness. This is all there is. Okay, its opposite is fear. False evidence appearing real. But what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. Is there an opposite to God? Obviously not. It doesn't exist. Now it goes on to explain that a little further. The Course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened. God, love, the perfected state. Can you threaten that? Can you threaten God? Can you do anything to stop God from being perfect in any way? No. Nor can you stop any spiritual being from being perfected in any way. Can't be done. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. So, all of our fears, this is saying all of your fears, not this fear or that fear. False evidence appearing real, all false evidence appearing real, doesn't truly exist. Herein lies the peace of God. When I read that, I said, okay, close the book, we're done. You don't need any more. We got it. How simple, right? That's the premise behind the Course. The Course is designed to help you reevaluate every single thing in this world, everything you experience, every thought you have, and help readjust the mind to where you see the reality of the moment, the truth in the moment, i.e. a miracle. You had a miracle. Take that miracle and build on it, have two miracles. Take that miracle and build on it, you may have 5 minutes of being within the awakened state. Take those 5 minutes and build on them, you have a whole day. Take those whole days and you have a month. It doesn't have to end until your ego-thinking mind comes back in and you choose that again. When you choose fear over love. And it's a constant challenge, obviously. We're all faced with having an ego-thinking mind that's going to try to pull you back just when you think you're out, pull you right back in again. Right? And we've been playing with this for over and over and over, lifetime upon lifetime. Not much different than what we just talked about for the last 2.5 years. Same thing. Okay, so that being said, should we get into the introduction, or should we do the clarification for terms first? Anybody?
Well, there's an introduction before the clarification of terms also.
Right? Yeah, right at the beginning of the manual for teachers now, right? Yeah, we're not going to get into the introduction for the course at the very, very beginning. I'm thinking now we're going to get into the manual for teachers because you guys have already had a tremendous amount of experience and understanding laid down. So if we get into the last section of this book, which is the manual for teachers.
Well, as a matter of fact, there happen to be 5 paragraphs in that introduction, and there happen to be 5 people here in the room. So
there
if
you
we
go.
all read a paragraph, we get through the introduction.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
You want to start us off?
Sure. Manual for Teachers. Introduction, page 1. The role of teaching and learning is actually reversed in the thinking of the world. The reversal is characteristic. It seems as if the teacher and the learner are separated, the teacher giving something to the learner rather than to himself. Further, the act of teaching is regarded as a special activity in which one engages only a relatively small proportion of one's time. The Course, on the other hand, emphasizes that to teach is to learn, so that teacher and learner are the same, and also emphasizes that teaching is a constant process. It goes on every moment of the day and continues into sleeping thoughts as well.
Okay, So, is that all clear to everyone, or should we? You think we should look at that at all?
The teacher and the learner are the same. You're the teacher and the learner. Or we are all, each of us, the teacher and the learner. We're teaching ourselves.
Remember the Bible talking about? Okay. Now what we're talking about here is the moment, a moment within eternity. The Bible says, as you believe, so shall it be. Right? So the Course in Miracles is basically saying here, you cannot separate yourself from this moment. And as you're teaching, you are teaching yourself. In other words, what you're believing, what you believe you're putting out, right? Aren't you putting this out to someone else? When you're interacting with someone or reacting to someone, aren't you demonstrating what you believe? Mm-hmm. And through your demonstration, you're reinforcing what you believe and validating it for yourself. Isn't that what the Course just said?
Right. Mm-hmm. It also emphasizes that teaching is a constant process.
Never ending.
Right.
You can't separate yourself out of it. It's forever.
Right. For us, serious students in this room, it should be 24 hours a day, every moment of every day, everything that we say, everything that we do should be, is that teaching moment.
Yes.
It's that learning moment.
Yes.
It shouldn't be like, oh, okay, I got a class now, it lasts for an hour, and then I'm going to live my life, and then, oh, tomorrow I have another class for an hour. No, that's all. That's out.
It's a constant vigilance.
Every moment of every day, right?
Every moment. Absolutely. So yeah, see, so clear. We just got that down. Next, Mick, you want to jump into the next one?
Okay. To teach is to demonstrate. There are only two thought systems, and you demonstrate that you believe one or the other is true all the time. From your demonstration, others learn, and so do you. The question is not whether you will teach, for in that there is no choice. The purpose of the Course might be said to provide you with a means of choosing what you want to teach on the basis of what you want to learn. You cannot give to someone else, but only to yourself, and this you learn through teaching. Teaching is but a call to witnesses to attest to what you believe. It is a method of conversion. This is not done by words alone. Any situation must be to you a chance to teach others what you are and what they are to you. No more than that, but also never less.
Pretty self-explanatory, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, love or fear? Love is the reality that is. What's real? Fear, false evidence appearing real, i.e. a human perception. Perception. Doesn't matter, good perception or bad perception, a perception. Unreal. Every given moment of every given day, you have to demonstrate whether you believe this is real or unreal. You're guilty or innocent. That's it. You cannot escape, but expressing this. And you express it, if I tell Johnny, be careful walking across the street, and I'm fearful in that moment for Johnny, I'm in a fear-based mind, I'm looking through the filter of perceptual mind, through the ego, and I'm teaching this to Johnny. I'm teaching him to be fearful in the world. Okay, that's good human, but it's not teaching him to be awake, spiritually speaking. If he was spiritually connected to God in that moment, what's he got to be afraid of? Now, if I understand that God is ever present and God is there to protect, and Johnny is going to be part of this umbrella of protection, I don't have to worry about Johnny in the slightest.
But God's not there to protect necessarily, is he?
Well, God is there to protect in every given moment if
We don't know if something's good or bad. You know, if somebody gets hit by a car, not necessarily a bad thing.
it's not necessarily a bad thing. And so there's a perfection in the moment. Do you have to worry about it?
No.
No. So if I teach Johnny to be worried about it, I'm teaching him to be fearful. Am I not? I'm demonstrating to him my belief and form.
I guess I'm questioning whether God is there to protect. We're making an assumption, and I don't know if that's the proper definition.
Well, when I say God's there to protect, God is there to protect the real truth of the moment, not necessarily to keep the form in place.
Correct.
Okay, yeah. Now let's get beyond form. That's the whole key.
I don't think that's what this paragraph says. I think what this paragraph is saying is that it's talking about teaching and how you teach.
Right.
And we have to throw out the window the old model of a teacher like you learned in elementary school where
Right.
there's a classroom and there's a teacher and the teacher's teaching. That's not how we teach in this kind of thing. We teach by living it.
Yes.
When you live it,
Lead by example.
Right.
yeah, you're living it, you're showing it, you're teaching it.
Right.
It's not through your words, it's through your
Action.
actions.
Sure. Absolutely right.
You're living, and that's how you teach.
And you're teaching and you're demonstrating in that moment your beliefs. And if you have an attachment to form, you're going
Right.
to teach that.
And there's two ways, you're going to be teaching one or the other.
Always.
Always. You're going to be
Demonstrate.
teaching one or the other.
Yes.
Right. That's what that paragraph says.
And you are validating to yourself your own beliefs. If I have a fearful mind,
Right.
I'm teaching someone to be afraid. And by teaching them to be afraid, I am reinforcing the belief within myself. This is my belief. So I'm teaching myself.
Yep.
And this is what it's about, through experience.
And others at the same time.
And others at the same time. You
Right.
can't separate.
Right.
Absolutely. You want to jump into 3?
The curriculum you set up is therefore determined exclusively by what you think you are and what you believe the relationship of others is to you. In the formal teaching situation, these questions may be totally unrelated to what you think you are teaching, yet it is impossible not to use the component of any situation on behalf of what you really teach, and therefore really learn. To this, the verbal content of your teaching is quite irrelevant. It may coincide with it, or it may not. It is the teaching underlying what you say that teaches you. Teaching what reinforces what you believe about yourself. Its fundamental purpose is to diminish self-doubt. This does not mean that the self you are trying to protect is real, but it does mean that the self that you think is real is what you teach.
Absolutely. So we're getting down to the nitty-gritty about, every given moment is a reflection. Your interaction is a reflection of your core beliefs.
And the verbal content of your teaching is quite irrelevant.
It is, yeah.
It's not, that's not what it's about.
Exactly. It's like
Right.
Bruce says, it's not what you say, it's what you really believe.
Feel deep down inside, yeah.
Which is why Christ said to his followers at one point, your lips are with me, but your hearts are far from me.
Right.
You give me lip service,
That's
I
what he
hear your
said.
words, but your actions and your demeanor is not reflecting the words you're spewing. And, we're all guilty of this on occasion. We say certain things, but in our heart we mean something different. This is why our world around us is such a great opportunity for us to learn, because we get to experience our thoughts. We get to experience our beliefs. We get to play them out. We get to play them out every day, every moment. How beautiful.
Sentence 8 is significant too. Its fundamental purpose is to diminish self-doubt. That is, every time I assert I live in the awakened state, every time I do that, it strengthens my, like at first, well, maybe it's the right path, and then wait, that is the right path, and the more you do it, the more certain you become that it's the right path. So it eliminates that self-doubt.
Yes. Yep. And so we get to repeat. We repeat until we don't have the doubt there, the doubt then being removed, we're not going to have to replay that. The universe is not going to waste time in replaying some needless experience for you. You're only going to have an experience that is necessary for you until it's no longer necessary. And it gets reinforced through practice and more repetition.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
What a beautiful system God created. I take my hat off to God every time I see it. You want to jump on 4, Gary?
This is inevitable. There is no escape from it. How could it be otherwise? Everyone who follows the world's curriculum, and everyone here does follow it until he changes his mind, teaches solely to convince himself that he is what he is not. Herein is the purpose of the world. What else then would its curriculum be? Into this hopeless and closed learning situation, which teaches nothing but despair and death, God sends his teachers. And as they teach his lessons of joy and hope, their learning finally becomes complete.
Wow.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Awesome, yeah.
Yeah. So here I'm sitting in a room full of God's teachers that are going to impact this world.
Yeah, pretty stark. The world teaches despair and death. That's what the world, that's its
Yeah.
curriculum.
Yes.
That's its curriculum. So,
Yeah. Choose one.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if that's your
That's right.
world, if that's where you
Right.
wish to reside.
oh, that is your world.
Well, it is for
Unless
most
you make
part.
this choice.
Yes.
That is your world. It's not 10 choices, there's 2
No,
choices.
exactly.
Right.
And that's why Jesus talked about this is an all or nothing deal. Either you forsake all of that for this, or that holds the value and that's what's going to keep your focus. And you're going to keep it alive. I mean, there's some things that seem to have eye appeal in this world. You know, we seem to place value on certain things in the world, a car, or home, or position, or money, or whatever it is, and it tends to draw us, and we want it. But by going there, you lose the other. You lose this. Anyway, let's look at 5. Except for God's teachers, there would be little hope of salvation, for the world of sin would seem forever real. The self-deceiving must deceive, for they must teach deception. And what else is hell? This is a manual for teachers of God. They are not perfect, or they would not be here. Yet it is their mission to become perfect here. And so they teach perfection over and over in many ways until they have learned it. And then they are seen no more. Although their thoughts remain a source of strength and truth forever. Who are they? How are they chosen? What do they do? How can they work out their own salvation and salvation of the world? This manual attempts to answer these questions.
Holy smokes.
Wow.
Awesome paragraph.
Isn't it?
That
Big
is
one.
an awesome paragraph. Wow. So the stakes are pretty high.
Well, I mean, it's
But the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow is pretty nice too.
Stakes are high, but you can't lose either. So, I mean, we have eternity, and so there doesn't have to be a lot of pressure or fear.
well, yeah. No, it should never. No one should ever move from fear. This is one of the things that I looked at in terms of the Christian religion I was brought up in and exposed to is they have used fear as a motivator.
Mm-hmm.
The Course in Miracles is using love as a motivator.
Yeah.
It's the opposite. It's teaching to interact on a whole nother level. It's teaching to forgo your attachment to fear. That's the only thing you're really sacrificing. To accept this, you're sacrificing your fears. You're saying, okay, I'll let all my fears go. In reality, the things of the world, nothing here is ever a problem. Money is not a problem. Things are not a problem. Relationships are not a problem. But the ego-thinking mind can make anything a problem. And does make almost everything a problem. Because you've taken a holy situation and turned it into a special situation. If it's holy, nothing wrong with it. This is why when we look at the Bible, and Paul said, of its own self all things are pure. They become impure when we eat with an impure mind. Not the thing. What does the thing mean? If it's based upon false evidence appearing real, I've lost that moment. I've moved it from holy to special. In terms of relationships, you're having a relationship with an individual, that's a holy encounter until you make it a special relationship. You've lost it. You've lost the significance of that moment. You're out of sync with the moment. You're in a perceived reality. So basically everything that we just talked about, everything we heard here, is moving from the perceived reality back to what is real. That's all. What's going to change in your world? The details might not change at all as far as what you see in the outward, the material world outside of you. It might not even change. And
that's how you perceive. Well, but you perceive it differently. I don't want to say perceive it. I mean,
experience it. Let's put it that way.
That's a better word.
And I like experience better than perceive, because perceived means I've taken that experience and putting a value on the moment. As to experiencing, I'm with it. Now, experiencing is timeless. God is timeless. God is that which never changes. Love will never change. If I'm part of this moment experientially speaking, if I am awake to this moment, if I'm experiencing the miracle, as the Course would say, in that moment it's timeless. You want to lose that timelessness. Rumi talked about this. Remember Rumi talking about the third eye? Yeah. The eye goes blind when it only wants to see why. I'm with the moment. The moment now, I'm experiencing the moment. Now I want to see why. Now I got to get into my perceptual mind, don't I? I just moved from one state to another. I moved from being timeless in this moment, like a kid playing. In the moment, they're lost in space. It's like, what time is it? They're in that moment. Time is irrelevant to them. But all of a sudden, you teach them to be focused on time as a good human, and now they're getting conditioned to start seeing things and analyzing things from that vantage point. Different world.
The phrase that was kind of shocking to me is in the middle, it leads up to this is a manual for teachers. They're not perfect, or they wouldn't be here. It's their mission to become perfect. They teach it over and over in many ways till they've learned it, and then they are seen no more. What happens to them? Once they become perfect, they disappear?
Well,
well, what's that about?
Well, the way in which I would take that, I would say that they've moved from an ego-based personality to their true spiritual nature. Now, the ego-based personality is not going to be seen. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're out of here. In terms of the material world, they may still be in the material world. They may or may not be. Whether they stay here or not is not really relevant any longer, is it? Now, the thing is this. There are those in this world, I believe that there are those in this world that are awakened enough to be here out of a choice to serve, to help others.
Bodhisattvas.
Yeah.
Did you look that up?
Yeah.
Sure. Now, that doesn't mean doesn't mean just because they are fully awakened that they're not necessarily here. Don't discount the fact that within creation, we are all here to serve one another. We're all here to help each other.
Yeah, they're here, but not like other.
No, they're not here
in
like
the world,
others.
but they're not of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're here,
On
but
a whole different level.
Yeah,
It's a
somehow.
whole different experience.
But you're exactly right. That is a very interesting.
It seems pretty literal. It says,
Right.
and then they are seen no more,
Right.
although their thoughts remain a source of strength and truth forever.
In other words, they're not part of the curtain. They're not
part of the
they're not
illusion.
part of, right.
Right, they're not part of the illusion. They're part of reality in that moment. They're part of a different thought system. Remember, the Course talks about 2 complete thought systems. And so within this, if we said, they're no longer here in the thought system, the
Right.
fear-based thought system. And whether they're here, you know, in physical or not, that's really irrelevant. What's relevant is their experience.
It's a mystery. That sentence right there is a mystery, but I think it's a mystery that we shouldn't try to.
No. Don't try to
necessarily-
dissect
Let's not
it
try
too
to
much.
open up that oyster right now. Let's just take it as, because we'll kill the oyster by
And I'm
trying
okay
to
if we
get.
get perfect enough that we just ascend. That's all right.
That's right.
Well, you know what? I would say this. I truly believe that we have a choice when you are at that point where you are no longer, it's no longer necessary for you to be here for your learning experience. You have a choice to leave. You're not forced to remain here. There was a part of me when I had the other experience and I saw creation, I knew in that moment I had a choice to not be here. I'm here out of choice. I know that. There was a time when I was like expanding in my consciousness where I was out of here. I would say I was out of here more than I was here, and I knew I couldn't hold that vibration and still remain in this dimension and let that go to be here. I can tell you I experienced that. I know that I'm here to help deliver whatever and help move the energy, and when that's been accomplished to the degree that I accepted to do and participate in, I won't be here. I don't have an attachment to it. I'm here, if I'm not, I'm not. So be it, whatever, doesn't matter. When everyone else understands who they are, that's all it's about. That's what it's about. And the biggest gift we can give one another, wake up. You wake up. You live it. That's the biggest gift you can give to humanity. And that's what this is. Who are God's teachers? Let's maybe get on to the next...
Well, but just to emphasize what you're saying, sentence 11 there is in the sacred, you know, the curriculum of this curriculum is to work out your own salvation and the salvation of the world.
Yes.
So, what a wonderful privilege. I mean, we're very privileged to even be offered that, you know, to be accepted into this school.
All of humanity. All of humanity has been offered this. Absolutely. Yes.
No, not everyone's had this book in their hands.
Whoa.
Not
Let me
everyone's
say.
had this,
yeah.
you know, a
No,
whole evening to devote to this.
No, not everyone
No,
is.
we're very privileged, I think, to be here in this moment.
Yeah. Well, let me say that all of humanity has this awaiting them.
I don't think we're
Okay.
privileged.
And-
I think
and-
we're ready.
You're ready. You're ready. Absolutely. And this is what Christ talked about 2,000 years ago when he said, "For those who have the ears to hear, let them hear." And when they asked him, "Why you speak in parables?" and he said, "Because for you, it's meant that you understand the mysteries of the kingdom, but for them, it's not." This is no different. You're in this room. We're going over this because for you, you have been preparing. You are prepared. This is something you're ready for. I used to tell people, look, I know who you are because I know who I am. I know that you're ready to hear this because I'm speaking. And if I'm speaking, you're meant to hear it in this moment. or you and I would not connect. You and I would not be in that same presence. When I speak truth and somebody's there, they're meant to hear that. They can accept it or reject it, but it's meant to be. I know that. And I look at you and namaste, I honor who you are, and I know how close you are because you're here. You're ready.
I think that is a sign of God's love. That's what I mean by privilege.
Yeah. No, and I hear what you're saying,
we should be very grateful for this opportunity.
Oh, you should be. Everyone should be grateful for everything they're experiencing. Yes, and I see where Peggy's going in the sense of no one is special, and in terms of yes, be grateful, yes, but don't discount the fact that everyone else in the entire planet is not just as worthy and special as you, because everyone here is all equal. All equal. Now, one of the things that Christ talked about, and Jesus talked in this manual, Jesus says, in terms of eternity, everyone's equal. In terms of this dimension, equality does not equate. And that kind of what Chris is talking about. He's recognizing at this moment that he is experiencing something and preparing for an experience and feels privileged that, yes, I'm here.
Who was
I
that
got
girl?
it.
Amanda, that woman that used to be here? Didn't she have a whole thing about gratitude?
Gratitude is everything. In terms of,
that's what I'm
yes,
trying to say.
be
Yeah.
grateful. Be grateful for every moment. And remember, we spent a long time covering the laws of the manifestation of experience and creation. And remember that this moment that we're here is the moment. Gratitude. Gratitude for what? Gratitude for experiencing the reality of what is. I'm grateful for that. That's the energy I just put into motion. The Course would say, I'm teaching myself. I'm teaching myself what? I'm teaching myself that I am awake. And I'm grateful to be awake. The energy you put out is the reality of experience, right? So one of the most beneficial things that you can hang on to is, yes, be grateful. Be grateful.
Live every day in an attitude of gratitude.
Yes, 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 yes. Absolutely.
Before you go any further, though, getting back to that sentence that they are seen no more.
Mm-hmm.
I look at the rest of that sentence. Although their thoughts remain a source of strength and truth forever. And when I hear teacher, the first thing that comes into my mind is Jesus. And, the strength and truth forever, I mean, just what he said, what he talked about. That's what it's all about.
I totally agree with you.
Absolutely. Thoughts are infinite. You have a thought and let it go. Don't think that thought doesn't have a life. That thought has an infinite life. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your vibration, everything, every bit of energy you put into the cosmos exists forever. Now, we're not going to get too deep into that right at this moment, because there are infinite potential experiences available for all of us to experience. And everything that you embrace, every experience you have, every thought you have, has an infinite life to it. You set energy out into motion, somebody else can pull on that energy at some point.
But I think this is being a little bit more literal than that, in the sense that the great teachers have left behind great writings, great teachings. I mean, the four Gospels of Jesus, the words of Jesus, these thoughts have had a tremendously positive effect on the rest of the world. Poem you mentioned, Rumi. Sure, he wrote thousands of poems. He's gone, but his thoughts are still there. We can still learn from
But
them.
the energy of those thoughts is still alive.
Still there.
Right.
That's the point.
Straight.
The energy is still
But
there.
because he wrote them down, those thoughts are still.
Even if you've never read the book, even if you never read or heard of Jesus Christ, you alter your frequency, you can tune into those energies without ever even hearing about him. They're there. and you can draw on that energy. You can also draw on negativity, working the opposite. This is why fear is not without power in this world. That Course talks about that too. It's an illusion, yes. It's not real, but it's not powerless. Succumb to a fear and feed it, and then tell me you didn't experience it. I'll guarantee you that you're every fear you feed into, more energy into, you're going to create more anxiety, more stress. And you can't escape living that out.
I think it'd be fun to watch a really scary movie, because I get scared very easy at them, and observe it and go, it's all an illusion, and try and get beyond the fear of it.
There are 4 more paragraphs in the next section when you want to jump on.
Yeah, let's jump right in there. Why not? You wanna jump on number 1?
Okay. Who are God's teachers? A teacher of God is anyone who chooses to be one. His qualifications consist solely in this. Somehow, somewhere, he has made a deliberate choice in which he did not see his interests as apart from someone else's. Once he has done that, his road is established and his direction is sure. A light has entered the darkness. It may be a single light, but that is enough. He has entered an agreement with God, even if he does not yet believe in him. He has become a bringer of salvation. He has become a teacher of God.
Wow, another big one.
Yeah.
So, first of all, let's say this. If God is all there is and God is love, and that is light, where does the dark come from?
Within us.
From the fears.
Right.
Right. So what we just heard, the light is just an opening that, okay, my ego-based thoughts, my thoughts, for a moment, these ego fear-based thoughts, I'm having a willingness to say, maybe there's another way. That's bringing light into that darkness. That's what that's saying. You know, when the Bible says, knock and the door shall be opened, that's the knocking. That's all. That's the beginning step. That's all you have to do. Okay, I'm willing to see something that I really don't know. I'm willing. Just show me. That's all. And that's what that's saying. A light has entered the darkness. It may be a single light, but it's enough. That's all you got to know.
I like how it says you don't even have to believe in God. You know,
Right.
You entered into agreement even if you've not yet believed in Him. You know, something just cracked. You know,
Mhm.
you felt it.
Yeah. You want to go on to the next paragraph?
Oh, sure. They come from all over the world. They come from all religions and from no religion. They are the ones who have answered. The call is universal. It goes on all the time, everywhere. It calls for teachers to speak it and redeem the world. Many hear it, but few will answer. Yet it is all a matter of time. Everyone will answer in the end, but the end can be a long, long way off. It is because of this that the plan of the teachers was established. Their function is to save time. Each one begins as a single light, but with the call at its center, it is a light that cannot be limited. And each one saves 1,000 years of time as the world judges it. To the call itself, time has no meaning.
Wow, see, now it's covering all the bases what Gary was talking about, you know, in terms of we have eternity to do this, yes.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a lot of needless suffering if we elect to keep staying in the same vibration of fear. We can forgo a lot of that by waking up now. We good? You want to go on, Peggy, or?
Sure. There is a course for every teacher of God. The form of the course varies greatly. So do the particular teaching aids involved. But the content of the course never changes. Its central theme is always, God's Son is guiltless, and in his innocence is his salvation. It can be taught by actions or thoughts, in words or soundlessly, in any language or in no language, or any place or time or manner. It does not matter who the teacher was before he heard the call. He has become a savior by his answering. He has seen someone else as himself. He has therefore found his own salvation in the salvation of the world. In his rebirth is the world reborn.
Beautiful stuff, huh?
Isn't it?
Well, what it's saying is, what you keep teaching us is that we're not guilty. When instead of talking of God's Son as guiltless, he's meaning we're guiltless.
Right. You and everyone else. Now, one of the things that the Course also talks about when he talks about guilt is, when you are seeing the real picture, everyone's innocent. You can't see everyone innocent except for that one jerk that you can't get past. It has to be all encompassing, or you're still lost within the illusion.
Well, when do you think, if it's at the age of 20, you found you were very judgmental, and at the age of 40, you've studied something like this, and you recognize it, and you look at people different, and you may not be where everybody's the same, but you've come a long way. I would think that you're at least elevated in your
Depending on the path you're on. You know, you remember where we just read where it said something about everyone has their own curriculum?
Mm-hmm.
You know, where someone is at 40, you may be at one point and somebody else had lived 40 years and had no experience.
Right. Well,
Okay.
that's why I was using the
Yeah.
example of somebody that's made some, improvements. I don't know. Well, you know, that's focused more on an understanding of it all.
If
as
they
opposed
chose.
to somebody, right? I mean, there might be somebody at 20 that understands it better than a 40-year-old, and there might be somebody at 40 who's never taken an interest and will never catch on at
Sure.
80.
And there may be some like Christ talked about when he said, people come into this world empty, and for the most part, they're choosing to leave empty. Anyone who has an attachment to the world and the world of form and the ego-based reality and doesn't want to let that go may leave at the same vibration they came in with, or even lower. It's not impossible for someone to come in at one vibration and get caught up in the world and actually go lower in that vibration than they started with. It's possible. We have eternity to play at this game now. And through the choices you're making, you are altering your frequency. You're raising it or lowering it. Through every choice you make. Somebody once said to me, there's no such thing as going backwards when it comes to evolution and the evolution of consciousness. And I thought I'd say, you know what? That's not true. It's not true. We can choose to live spiritually awakened, and we can choose to go back into the world. Everything's a choice. And if I choose to go back into the world, and I was already at a certain frequency, and I say, well, you know what? I have eternity to play. I'm going to go back into the world for a while. Haven't I lowered my vibration back down? Obviously I have. I can do that. It's a choice. And that's all I want to keep reiterating is you have a choice, and you have a choice to fully wake up if you choose. Don't put limits. Remember I said many, many times, don't ever put a limit on where you can go. You can wake up. Of course we'll tell you can do it. It's within the spectrum of creation for you to wake up. Right here, right now. Don't tell anyone, don't let anyone in this world tell you otherwise, that you're not capable and you have to grow and ascend in steps. You don't have to. And we're going to which you didn't cover it. At the very, very beginning of this, the Course says this: there are no degrees of difficulty when it comes to a miracle. No degrees of difficulty. What is that saying? There are no degrees of difficulty. I can wake up now. I don't have to build into this, because your perfected state was created by God. Did God ever take that away from you?
No, you still have it.
You still got it.
Still got it.
You got it. All you have to do is reclaim it. You gave it away to your ego. You let your ego rule your thoughts. You let your ego establish for you a complete thought system that was fear-based. You did that. When you take responsibility for doing that, you can now come back to reclaiming who you are. You now are empowered, because no one and nothing did that to you. You were encouraged. You were influenced. You were taught by certain people in the world. You were taught by your parents. You were taught by your everyone around you. But you made the choice. And if you made the choice to do that, you can make the choice to do this. Anyway, where were we?
Oh, wait a minute, before we
Oh,
leave that
okay.
paragraph. What I like about that paragraph, and it says, it does not matter who the teacher was before he heard the call. He has become a savior by his answering. I remember, as a kid or whatever, I'd hear other adults talking about, oh yeah, sure, the guy turns his life around in prison, and now, he's changed. But their ego got the best of them, saying that it was all just a front so that he could get out of jail earlier. You know
Right.
what I mean? Not really seeing that, maybe this guy is believing what he believes, and he just was reborn
Sure.
in the prison.
Sure. I would say many people, and as a matter of fact, I would say somebody incarcerated, somebody in a little cell, has probably a better chance. I would say maybe even a better chance than the average person who's working a 9-to-5 job out there, raising a family and doing all of the stuff.
Because you're so preoccupied with...
Preoccupied and all the distractions. This guy's sitting in a cell day after day. He's sitting there, got a lot of time on his hands.
Right.
Possible.
And maybe he's thinking about the fact that he did commit a crime. Maybe
Right.
he
Maybe.
did hurt somebody. Maybe he does feel remorse.
Really?
All of
He
these
wants
things
forgiveness.
can spur somebody
Certainly.
to serious reflection.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So I look and I say, now, if in fact that does spur that, and that individual does wake up, being incarcerated was the most beneficial thing that individual could have experienced.
Biggest gift he would have ever got.
So who are we to judge somebody who's off to jail?
Well, that's what I
Judge
was
them?
hearing.
Yeah.
Judgment. part.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. You can't go there unless you are omniscient, and I haven't met the person yet. Not yet. So, we're going to finish up here at number 4, Gary?
This is a manual for a special curriculum intended for teachers of a special form of the universal course. There are many thousands of other forms, all with the same outcome. They merely save time. Yet it is time alone that winds on wearily, and the world is very tired now. It is old and worn and without hope. There was never a question of outcome, for what can change the will of God? But time, with its illusions of change and death, wears out the world and all things in it. Yet time has an ending, and it is this that the teachers of God are appointed to bring about. For time is in their hands. Such was their choice, and it is given them.
Things that make it go.
Time has an ending, huh? Time
Right.
has an ending.
Time has an ending. Eternity doesn't, does it? Time has an ending.
This time is linear.
Time is linear. Okay, let's put that. Time is linear.
So when and how does time end?
When does it end?
It ends when you choose to stop thinking linear.
There you go. Wow, see, I know we're so far ahead of this course. Look at that. You know, remember what we talked about, Einstein? The past, the present, and the future is nothing but an optical delusion of consciousness, albeit a persistent one. If it's an optical delusion of consciousness, is it real?
No.
It's not real. It's fear-based. False evidence appearing real. That's what linear time is. False evidence appearing real. Eternity is not limited to linear time. It's all time collected as one moment. That's eternity. That's reality. That's your true home. Your home is in eternity. That's what the Course would tell you. Your home is not rooted in linear time. Your home is not based in a fear-based state where death plays itself out. You're an eternal being. Well, it's all simple stuff.
Well, thank you so much, Bruce, for suggesting that we jump into this book. It's fabulous.
Isn't it a great book?
Fabulous.
And look, everybody already had it.
Right?
Isn't that great?
Got a good teacher.
No, but what I'm saying is you already had your books.
Oh.
See? Isn't that great? No, I remember I looked at this book, I said, wow, I says, yeah, I'd like to say I wrote that book, but no, it's the same message, it's different, written in a different way. I just couldn't understand when I watched these groups and then people reading it and it didn't make sense to them. So, well, how can that make sense? Look at this. It's crystal.
So simple.
It's so simple, see? It's crystal. It's written in everyday layman's terms. Even I can read this. I'm not even a reader.
Who did write this book?
Well, if you read the beginning, Helen Schuckman, did you read that about Helen Schuckman?
Yeah.
She was a
I just don't know, I
psychologist,
forgot.
a teacher, Columbia, and she started channeling. Came out of the air. She didn't know what to make of it, and she told her associate. He told her, well, just start taking notes. Then he started taking notes, and here it is. It's all channeled. Now, from what I remember reading somewhere, I don't know if it was in this book that I read it, but from what I remember reading somewhere, she never accepted this. She never, for herself, personally accepted
Is
this.
she still alive, do you know?
That I don't know either.
I don't-
You'd have to, I have no
I
idea.
only know
But
what
in
people
a sense,
said.
she was a perfect channel because she had a very, very, very trained mind. Because she was a PhD, she
Mhm.
was a medical doctor of some kind at Columbia Presbyterian. So she had a very, but she herself was a total secular person, agnostic person. So she had no prior belief system. She had
To
no
cloud it, sure.
belief system one way or the other about God. And she had this highly, highly trained mind. So in that sense, you could call her the perfect
Yeah,
channel.
Jesus picked the right one. Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
Because the
Would he
proof
pick
sitting
the
here,
wrong
so
one,
she was
though?
the perfect channel, because the proof is in the pudding.
She was an atheist,
Yeah.
psychologist, educator, conservative in theory, and atheistic in belief. So she didn't even believe in God.
Right.
Here's what I'm receiving. This, that does kind of make her the perfect channel. You can't say that she was writing her own beliefs, her own stuff, because
Yeah.
she didn't even believe in God. She was just letting this flow through her.
But I also thought it was very, very interesting. Now I'd have to research and find out for sure, because I vaguely remember reading something years ago that in the end she did not believe in the Course.
Wow.
after channeling the whole thing.
Wow.
And I'm looking saying, well, and then I looked and I said, okay, I could relate that to my experience, and I say, my experience was not a channeled piece where it came through me, but I was one with it. And then when her experience, it came through her. So it was not her experience. She was a channel. She was a mouthpiece. And I look and I say, okay, I can understand then how something coming through, I can't accept this because it wasn't her. It wasn't her experience.
Wow. I'll look that up when I get
Look
home.
that up. Check that out for us, yeah.
Your homework assignment,
There's your
Chris.
homework assignment, Chris.
That's
So
the
Chris
last
had a
one
great
next
idea.
week.
I'm sorry, Chris had a great idea about,
Oh, yeah.
about, doing homework. It's something we never did before. I was never one to think about passing out homework because I skipped it when I went to high school. I didn't believe in homework, but here we're gonna move along. So what do we say? How many chapters do we want to do?
What do you mean, for homework?
For homework, to read and be prepared to come in and discuss.
Are you talking about the Course in Miracles itself?
No,
or the
no,
teaching?
the section for the teachers.
Oh,
Yeah. Or
bad idea, Chris. Very bad idea.
should we go the way we've been just going?
I like the way we're doing it. That way we'll decipher it all and we talk about it little by little, and it's not that big. And then-
Okay.
We could still
Now, if
let
you wanna do
everybody know
homework.
what the target is.
Yeah, we can do that.
So we're gonna do that.
We can do that. And then you could read
You
it.
have a choice, you can
There you go.
read ahead or not.
That's probably a good idea.
Let's just say 10 pages.
Okay, well, what does that bring us to?
How many
We're on
pages did we
5
get through
now,
today?
so 15.
We got through 5 pages today?
Yeah, we got
So
five.
let's be
five.
realistic.
Well, we got through 4.
Well, let's be realistic then, 5 pages.
Well, weren't we gonna do the clarification of terms early on?
Oh, yeah. We were gonna do that early on, weren't we?
So that ought to be what we
Oh, I
do
don't know.
next.
Yeah.
I think we should. Why don't we just continue with what we're going?
You wanna continue what we're going?
Chris, after we're all done, then we're gonna clarify the terms?
Well, whoever put the book together
Well,
saw the sense in that.
That's
And so
right.
why would we question?
All right, how about
their
this then?
sense?
how about we pick up